The Hurricanes held their sixth practice of the fall today. Yes, I was at practice. I understand that the background is different, and that's because I had a little problem with my camera afterwards. So instead of working through it, decided to get home, work on some other content. But I do want to provide a report with what I saw today from practice. And it starts with right when I walked into the indoor practice facility. Again, they do roughly half their practice indoors and about half outside. It's certainly been warm. KJ Cloyd was one of the four linebackers who spoke after practice today. And when he was asked about the differences between Louisville and Miami, he certainly mentioned the heat. The weather is much different, much hotter in Miami, and he's still adjusting to that. And they've had hot days. Today was a hot day over at UM. And in regards to being inside the indoor practice facility, it's interesting because they have done some work in the past inside there. They do go outside, but they actually do their position drills inside. We're able to watch that again, about 20 minutes, nothing new with what we were able to see today, but it was good being out there. But I kind of saw it again today. I've seen it in the past when we've been out there, but sometimes because of the size of the practice facility with the position drills, in particular catching passes, somebody's got to make sure that the wide receivers or anybody catching the passes don't run into the defensive backs drills. That's right in front of us. It's happened before, and sometimes the defensive backs get a little bothered with the receiver running through their drill. But basically, they have to catch it about 30 yards and then slow down. And I know even if it's a swing pass, they definitely would want to get it going. They're always taught, receivers are always taught to finish the drill, keep running, and certainly they're told to slow down because they don't want to run into another drill. So I find that to be interesting. Again, we're able to watch wide receivers and the defensive backs quite a bit because they're usually right in front of us. So right when I walked into the facility, I noticed an orange number 90 jersey, and that stands out because the offense wears orange. Number 90, as you know, is not a typical, that's not an offensive number. So I was very curious as to who it was. But the players, even if they wear a different jersey, they still wear their same helmets. And then on their helmet, you got to look for the helmet sticker, that lower left-hand side, and it was 78, which is Matthew McCoy. So I was very curious to see how McCoy, where he was going to line up. What does that mean? Is it just a 90, maybe a 78 jersey, something wrong with it? But I do think also it's something to maybe think about is maybe he's a potential tight end. He's a guy that played tight end in high school before moving to the offensive line, playing a tackle spot. So maybe they're kind of moving him around a little bit. Who knows exactly what's going on with McCoy, but I thought that was worth noting. And also sticking with the tight ends, I found that to be a noticeable thing today because Elijah Arroyo, again, kind of going back to media day, I had a conversation with him about his injury coming off the ACL, about how he anticipated approaching fall camp. And Elijah did tell me that he is going to be available. He plans on being available and playing the season opener. But during fall camp, he's basically going to approach it that he's going to wait and see how he feels each day. And we've seen it a couple of times now where he's not been out there fully. He will go through some stretching. He is out there, but then he'll go off to the side a little bit too and kind of stretch out a little bit with the injured guys at times as well. So Elijah, I think, is just a day-to-day thing. We'll kind of wait and see. Certainly, if he's out on the field, if he's fully healthy, fully ready to go, he can make an impact for the offense. I think he can have a good year. It's just he has to get right. And he's still working through some things. And another guy that I saw that was interesting at tight end was Cam McCormick, a guy that I saw take that first rep with the wide receivers, Colby Young, Xavier Restrepo, and also Jacoby George. And I'm going to talk more about the receivers. I might surprise you with my take at wide receiver here in a little bit. But I saw McCormick take that first rep, but then there was another drill where I didn't see McCormick out there. And Jaleel Skinner got some work with that top group. So it's going to be interesting kind of to see how the tight end group kind of evolves throughout fall camp, kind of paying attention to the availability of McCormick and especially Arroyo, but also maybe it's an opportunity for Jaleel Skinner to get some reps. And just flipping it to the defensive side of the ball, there was a drill I was watching where all the defensive players were taking part in this drill where they were just sliding in and out of the pads on the ground. And yes, defensive backs, we see them do that quite a bit. Linebackers do it, but just seeing the full line, defensive linemen were doing it too. And one of the guys that caught my eye was freshman cornerback Damari Brown. And all the guys were doing a good job with it, but I felt like with Damari, he just had really quick feet. He was really doing a good job of kind of getting in and out of the pads there. And I found that to be notable because he's known as a bigger corner. He is a bigger corner, but it looked like he had good footwork. And I just thought he did a good job on that drill. And then later on, I found it to be notable, Damari was taking first team reps there on the defense. They're in the back seven there. They were working on their half field stuff, and he was alongside on the other side at cornerback was his brother Devontae Brown, and then also in the slot, Jaden Davis, and then the safeties, as you would expect, Cam Kitchens and James Williams. But I do want to note, I saw Marcelius Pulliam, the freshman linebacker, in that group. But I want to note that the main primary linebackers for the team were working on another drill with the linemen. So I just want to make sure I make note of that. Yes, Pulliam was in there. However, other linebackers were just not taking part in that drill. And that happens sometimes where position groups are split up a little bit. But I found it to be notable with Damari because he's a guy that Coach Guidry spoke highly about. He was a guy that Coach Guidry said he's really doing a good job, as a bigger corner. And this team, on both sides of the ball, I heard Alex Mirabal talk about this on Media Day, and Lance Guidry has noted it as well. They want to have a big team, essentially across the board. They want to have bigger players. They want to have bigger players on both sides of the ball, not just linemen, not just offensive linemen or defensive linemen when you typically think of size. Guidry noted he wants 6'2" linebackers. Notably, if you're not above 6'2", kind of in that range, you've got to do things special. And I just thought it was interesting hearing him talk about the defense, how Mirabal has talked about both sides of the ball, the size, but then seeing a guy like Damari, maybe he's going to be in the mix there as a bigger corner. Before I talk about wide receivers, I want to talk about linebackers because they talked after practice. And there was another thing that Guidry said that stood out to me, and it has to do with KJ Cloyd. If you listen closely, when Guidry, in the last practice that we had available to us, Guidry talked about Cloyd and that he expected him to come on because he does have the experience. So I think Cloyd is a guy, I know this might surprise people, but I just think Cloyd, we've talked about him a lot, but he's a guy I think that's doing well in his role right now, but I think he's a guy that's really is battling Wesley Bassane essentially at that weak side linebacker spot, although Guidry did say he is open to moving Corey Flagg over from middle to the weak side if Francisco continues to kind of stay ahead of Corey as I see it right now. And then they're just open to moving Corey if he's a part of that weak side spot as well. I think Corey said it best after practice today. He was one of the four linebackers that spoke, along with Maui Noah, Bassane, and also that returned, and Cloyd as well. But Keontra Smith was scheduled to speak to us, but he did not for an unknown reason. But Corey said, in terms of scheme, position, whether it's a different corner, whatever it might be, just said that, ball is ball, essentially. Just kind of, it's all about the same. And he feels like he's done a good job of really learning how to play, learning different defenses, roles, whatever. So, and I agree with them on that sense. I think if they want to move him, if they feel like he can be their best weak side linebacker, I think he'll be able to handle that role. I think he'll know what to do in that. However, right now, I think Cloyd is the one that you really have got to pay real close attention to. And with that being said, Wesley Bassane, I think this is a pivotal fall camp. I really feel like this is a pivotal season for Wesley. It's year 2 for him. He's still a young guy. However, it's time to turn the corner for him. I think it's a real pivotal year, in terms of earning playing time and having a large role, earning a starting job and really holding on to it. We've seen other linebackers in the past really take that jump in their second year. And again, he's learning a new defense and things like that. But he has said to me when I talked to him at Media Day, and he still feels this way, he really likes this defense. He feels like it's an opportunity for the linebackers, for him in particular, to make more plays, and he feels like he's going to do so. And I asked him today how practices have gone, making plays and things like that. And he feels like, he can still be a little bit more consistent. I asked him about interceptions because he told me he wants to intercept passes, and he said he hasn't had one yet, but he's looking forward to doing so and making plays. Maybe it will happen on Saturday at Canes Fest. It's going to be an open practice. I don't know all of the details, what Miami will really show. Earlier in fall camp, Coach Cristobal said it will be the first scrimmage. It will be interesting if they're going to have a full scrimmage for the fans. It's free, open to the public. It'll be at Hard Rock Stadium. Still working on details, still trying to find out everything. But that would be a great event for a guy like Wesley to show out and have a big performance. Now, in regards to wide receiver, look, if you follow the channel, if you've seen my work on InsideTheU.com, you've seen me talk highly about Frank Ladson. And although last year did not go as planned for Frank, he wished he would have had more production. It wasn't a huge year in his first year at Miami after transfer from Clemson. However, I still believe Frank can have a really good year, and I think he could be highly productive. In fact, I think he could be Miami's best wide receiver this year. And I know that's going to surprise a lot of people. There are a lot of other names that are out there. I think if you were to drop in the comments below, everybody would say a different name in terms of who they think is and will be Miami's best receiver. And I understand. I understand Frank's production, the yards per catch, total yards, whatever it might be. I understand those numbers could or should be better. They've got to definitely be better if he's going to be Miami's best receiver this year. And I think they will be. Look, I just asked an open-ended question to Kevin Beard. We're going to play it right now about how Frank was looking over the summer.
Frank has had an unbelievable summer. When I got here, he was coming off of an injury. Was kind of a big body guy. And now, seeing him now, he's thinned out. He looks quicker. He looks leaner. He looks more explosive and dynamic. And I think that's the Frank that everybody has wanted him to be or looking forward to him to being since he's gotten here. And I think I'm excited to see how that all unfolds.
And with Kevin Beard's response to my question about Frank, it wasn't surprising that he would say something positive about Frank. It was that he said he's thinned down a little bit. He feels like he's running better. And for me, from watching him so much as I did in high school practices and games, nearly every game his senior year, I remember him being a leaner than what I saw last year, getting downfield, making tough catches, contested catches. And I think if he gets, can continue to stay at that weight, I think that's going to be helping him in terms of whether it might be some injury stuff that he's dealt with in the past, or even just getting more explosive plays downfield. I think that's a good sign for Frank. I didn't get a chance to catch up with Frank at Media Day, but I'm curious to hear more about maybe some of the things he's done. Once again, I think he can have a big year. I know that might surprise some people. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does at Canes Fest. I know he had a quiet spring game. He dealt with the injuries over the summer. And again, I was a little surprised that he would get talked up so highly from Coach Beard in terms of, being thinned down and things like that. Because, again, a lot of people I don't think are talking about Frank. So we'll see how he does. He's got to perform. There doesn't, it comes down to, there's one thing of having feelings, but sometimes, most of the time, all the time, it comes down to actual results and what you're actually doing on the field. So we'll see. I think Frank has a chance along with Wesley, because Wesley did say he wants to have an interception. There are certain key guys to watch for once that public practice opens up, and we'll see how everything goes. A lot of stock will be put into that practice because they've been closed throughout, rightly or wrongly, whatever you might say about how the weight of an open practice, but that it is what it is. We can only go off by what we see. The fans are going to react, certainly. So thanks for watching. Looking forward to more coverage. We'll see how our access goes moving forward, but thanks again for watching. Hopefully have a good rest of the day and take care.